You are welcome to the Messiah Revelation Ministry End Time Prophetic Ministry. We are blowing the trumpet because by revelation, the Messiah is coming very soon, and all the signs show that we are in the last hours of the last days, and we have to prepare for the judgments that are coming. The Lord is going to judge the world. Messiah is going to judge the world, including the Gentiles. And the judgment on the Gentiles will come very soon. Today we are looking at a judgment against a Gentile nation. We are talking about the Isaiah 18 judgment. The Lord is going to judge a nation, and the nation is described in Isaiah chapter 18. And a member of the channel sent me a note and asked a question. Which nation is the prophet Isaiah talking about in Isaiah chapter 18? And you go by Come Back Jesus. I believe that is your tag name. And I promise that I will do a discussion on Isaiah 18, judgment on a Gentile nation. And which nation is the prophet Isaiah talking about? Is the prophet talking about Ethiopia, or is the prophet talking about the United States? I consulted Dick Annotated Bible Reference, and his commentary on Isaiah chapter 18 says that Isaiah is referring to Ethiopia in Isaiah chapter 18. And there's a counter argument by a biblical scholar. His name is Dante Fortson, Fortson. And this is his book, The Black History Awakening, the final 400 years as slaves in America. Dante Fortson is a Hebrew Israelite. He is an African American. He's a Hebrew Israelite, lives in the United States. And I recommend his book in the same way that I will recommend the books written by Ronald Dalton, Hebrews to Negroes. I congratulate and encourage these men, Hebrew Israelites in America, for the work that they are doing in awakening the Hebrews who are scattered over the world. And from the continent of Africa, we are also doing the awakening. And today we are focusing on Isaiah chapter 18, and we read from verse 1. And the heading in my Bible, King James Bible, is a prophecy against Ethiopia. Isaiah 18 verse 1. Woe to the land shadowing with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Very, very short description of the nation against whom the prophet Isaiah is speaking. Woe to the land shadowing with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. The prophet Isaiah is talking about judgment against a Gentile nation. Why is the judgment? You read it from Isaiah 18 verse 6. They shall be left together unto the fowls of the mountains and to the beasts of the earth, and the fowls shall summer upon them, and all the beasts of the earth shall winter upon them. And that is the judgment on the nation identified in Isaiah chapter 18. They did something wrong against the Hebrews who are scattered over the world, and Elohim is going to judge them the nation that sendeth ambassadors by the sea, even in vessels of bulrushes upon the waters, saying, Go, ye swift messengers to a nation scattered and peeled, the people terrible from their beginning hitherto, a nation meted out and downtrodden, whose land the rivers have spoiled. They have spoiled the people of God, who are downtrodden, who are very weak. And for that reason, the Lord is going to judge them. The Lord is going to judge that nation, and there will be a feast, and the birds of the earth will summer on the carcasses of the people identified, the nation identified in Isaiah chapter 18. Is that nation Ethiopia, as is suggested by Dick annotated Bible reference, or is the nation United States, as suggested by my brother, a Hebrew Israelite Dante Faustin, a biblical scholar and an expert in the affairs of the Hebrew Israelites? The black Hebrew awakening, the final 400 years as slaves in America, and that is his book. And he is saying that the prophet Isaiah in chapter 18 of his book is talking about United States, the country where Dante Faustin lives. Babylon, United States, is the subject under discussion in Isaiah chapter 18, even though my Bible is talking about a prophecy against Ethiopia. It's a mystery. Which nation is the prophet talking about in Isaiah chapter 18? Is it Ethiopia? Is it United States? And here I consulted the prophecy in Ezekiel, and here Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 5. The prophet Ezekiel talks about judgment which will come to a coalition of nations that in the end times very soon will target the Hebrews. They will go and invade the land given to the Hebrews. They will encompass Jerusalem. They will attempt to divide the land among themselves, even the land that Elohim gave to the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who are still scattered all over the world. The ancestors were taken by vessels and they were scattered over the world. And who is among those nations, the coalition? Ethiopia. And if you read Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 5, the prophet names some of the nations: Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. The prophet Ezekiel is also talking about Ethiopia, a Gentile nation that will be judged in the end times, because Ethiopia, along with Persia, Iran, along with Libya, now Muslim nations, they will put into their mind. The Lord will stir them to attack the land given to the Hebrews, the Hebrew Israelites, and the Lord will judge them. And Ethiopia is one of those nations identified by the holy prophet Ezekiel in Ezekiel 38 verse 5. But we are talking about Isaiah chapter 18, the prophecy against Ethiopia. Which nation is identified in Isaiah chapter 18? As I said, The Dake Bible reference, which is very popular, well respected, the commentary suggests that Isaiah 18 is talking about Ethiopia. But as I said, my brother Dante Faustin is saying that Isaiah 18 is talking about Babylon, even the oppressor nation, United States. That is the subject of his book. What he says in the Black Hebrew Awakening, the final 400 years as slaves in America, the nation whose capital is Washington, D.C. Dante Faustin is saying that Isaiah is identifying that nation in chapter 18 of his book. And what are his arguments? And here I'm going to go about the arguments made by Dante Faustin. Because if you read Isaiah chapter 18 verse 1, it reads, "Behold, woe to the land, behold, shadowing with wings. Woe to the land, shadowing with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia." Then the first thing argues that the wing of a prey bird, a predatory animal, that is an indication of the wing of the eagle, which is the symbol, the emblem of the United States. And so the wing in Isaiah 18 verse 1 represents the wing of the eagle, and the United States, Babylon, United States, is the nation that has that emblem, the emblem of an eagle. So Dante is arguing that the prophet Isaiah is referring to the United States. And Dick Annotated Reference Bible suggests that Isaiah is not identifying United States because United States is not mentioned in Isaiah chapter 18. So we go back to our brother Dante Faustin. And Dante Faustin quotes the words of Isaiah, "Woe to the land shadowing with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia." The phrase "beyond the rivers of Ethiopia," what does it mean? And Dante is saying that beyond the rivers of Ethiopia is an indication of nations beyond the Atlantic Ocean. And he correctly says that the Ethiopian nation, the Ethiopian Ocean, the name was changed. Ethiopian Ocean was changed to be now the Atlantic Ocean. And so when the prophets were talking about nations beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, they were talking about nations beyond the ocean of Ethiopia, which the Europeans changed the name from Ethiopian Ocean into the Atlantic Ocean. And nowadays, they are changing names left and right. The Gulf of Mexico is now the Gulf of America. You are aware of that. And the land of Africa was changed, names were changed, and geography was changed. And so the Middle East was taken out of Africa. And now when you are talking about things in the Middle East, they are making it look like Middle East was not part of Africa at all. So Dante Faustin is saying that when the prophet talks about a nation beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, he was talking about a nation beyond the Atlantic Ocean, which has an eagle as an emblem, and that emblem, the eagle, is referred to in Isaiah's prophecy the land shadowing with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Dante Forson also makes another strong argument, and the argument is taken from the book of Isaiah 18, verse 2, that the nation sendeth ambassadors by the sea, even in vessels of bulrushes upon the water, saying, Go, ye swift messengers to a nation scattered and peeled. A nation scattered and peeled. What does it mean? A nation scattered and peeled. A nation scattered. Of course, understand the word scattered. They put you into different places, and they throw you over left and right, north and south, east and west, and you are peeled. You are downtrodden. Dante is saying that in AD 70, true to the prophecy of the Messiah, stated in Luke 21:24, the Messiah said that the Hebrews will be scattered and they will fall under the sword of Rome. They will be scattered all over the world. Of course, when Jerusalem was invaded in AD 70, they did not move to the Caucasus Mountains. They did not move, the Hebrew did not move to the lands controlled by the Romans, who destroyed Jerusalem AD 70. They fled, and they fled to lands in Africa. And from there, as you are aware, they were taken as slaves. And so by the time that the Hebrews were taken as slaves, they were a nation scattered to Africa, and they were peeled. They were already weak. A lot of them fell under the sword of the Gentile Rome. The Negroes who defended the city of Masada, they died, and the remnant fled to places all over Africa, including West Africa, and that became the theater of oppression. And the slave vessels came along the Atlantic Ocean, of course, beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. And so Dante is arguing that when Isaiah talks about a nation scattered and peeled, the prophet was talking about the Hebrews scattered following the events in AD 70 in Jerusalem, and already peeled and already scattered to Africa, and who became the subject of the transatlantic slave trade, who became the human cargo or the vessels of Babylon, even Babylon, America. And Dante is saying that when the prophet is talking about vessels and oceans and ships, he was talking about America, a nation that literally is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. And of course, if you read the book of Zephaniah, he's saying that a time will come when the true worshippers of Elohim, they will go to Jerusalem and worship the Lord in Jerusalem, and they will come from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. And so when the Dick Reference Bible argues that Isaiah 18 is not talking about America, because America is not mentioned in Isaiah chapter 18, it is a very weak argument. It is a weak argument because beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, that phrase has been interpreted to mean nations beyond the Atlantic Ocean, beyond Ethiopia, all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, because Ethiopian Ocean, that name was changed by Europeans to Atlantic Ocean, the same way that they are changing, or they have changed, the Gulf of Mexico to mean the Gulf of America. And so Ethiopia, mentioned in Isaiah chapter 18, is a nation beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, and not necessarily the Ethiopia that you see in Africa. And that is the argument made by Dante Faustin in his epic book, The Black Hebrew Awakening, the final 400 years as slaves in America. Is Isaiah chapter 18 talking about judgment on Ethiopia, or is he talking about judgment on America? And it's a mystery, and because when you look at the context and the sequence of the books of Isaiah, you read Isaiah chapter 17, and the prophet talks about the burden on Damascus, which is the capital of Syria. And then in Isaiah 18, the prophet talks about the prophecy against Ethiopia, a nation beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. And Ethiopia comes in. And then when you go to Isaiah chapter 19, the prophet talks about judgment against Egypt. So you see Isaiah 17 talking about Damascus, Syria, Isaiah 18 talking about Ethiopia, then Isaiah 19 talking about Egypt. So one can conclude that Isaiah is talking about Ethiopia as we know in Africa, because the sequence of his work shows that he's talking about Damascus in chapter 17, and Ethiopia in chapter 18, and Egypt in chapter 19. So we go back to the question, is the prophet talking about Ethiopia, or is he talking about United States of America when he proclaims judgment on a Gentile nation for what they did to the Hebrew Israelites? Is the prophet talking about Ethiopia? Is he talking about United States of America? Which nation is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, the land shadowing with wings, the land that sent ambassadors by sea, in vessels, in ships, that went and took captive a Hebrew nation that was already scattered and peeled? Which nation was that? Which nation was that? Is it Ethiopia? Did Ethiopia take Hebrews who were already scattered and peeled? Or was it America that took Hebrews who were already scattered and they were peeled? They were scattered to the coast of Africa, particularly in West Africa, and from there, the vessels from America, the citadel of slavery, the nation that built her land with slave labor, the nation that took captive the Hebrews for the prophetic 400 years, the nation that is hidden in the Bible, is so hidden that when the apostle John saw that nation in Revelation, the apostle John said, a mystery Babylon. Did not talk about United States, the nation that was to be discovered by Christopher Columbus. Isaiah 18, judgment on the land that is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Is it Ethiopia or is it America? Of course, you need to console yourself if you are a Hebrew Israelite. And the consolation is that judgment will come on the Gentiles, including Gentile Ethiopia and Gentile America. And the Lord is very, very certain about it. And so for Ethiopia, even if Ethiopia is left off the hook in Isaiah chapter 18, oh, my Lord, you see Ethiopia in Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 5, because Ethiopia, Gentile Ethiopia, will be among the coalition, including Persia and Libya, that in the end times will go to the land assigned and allotted to the Hebrew Israelites, and they will attempt to invade the land, and they will go with shield and helmet. Elohim will destroy them, and in the same way that Elohim will destroy the nation beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, United States of America, the nation that took Hebrews as slaves, the nation that is going to be judged. And you cannot take America off the hook. You cannot take America off the hook in Isaiah chapter 18, because, hey, there's another 18 coming to America, and that is Revelation chapter 18. And so that is a mystery. Isaiah chapter 18 and Revelation chapter 18. America is not off the hook, because in Ezekiel chapter 18, the judgment is on a nation that is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. And beyond the rivers of Ethiopia is not necessarily Ethiopia in Africa. It is beyond the Atlantic Ocean. So America is not off the hook. And America is not off the hook because there's another chapter 18, and that is chapter 18 of the book of Revelation, where America, the citadel of captivity, will be judged. And this time, it will be judged in such a way that it will be desolate, and it will be the habitation of demons. The Lord is telling you something. Isaiah 17, judgment on Damascus. Damascus was the city where Paul, when he was going to get permission to persecute the followers of the Messiah, and judgment is coming to Damascus. And then Ethiopia, the nation beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Judgment is coming in Isaiah chapter 18. In Isaiah chapter 19, judgment is coming on Egypt. Egypt is symbolic because we have two Egypts, the first Egypt and the second Egypt, and America is not left the hook, because even if America is not the first Egypt, definitely America is the second Egypt. So my conclusion is that there is a mystery of the identity of the nation described in Isaiah chapter 18. Despite that mystery, we are rest assured: one, the Messiah is coming very soon; two, he's coming to be the ruler of the earth; three, he will execute judgment on the Gentiles, particularly the Gentiles that captured the Hebrews and persecuted them and oppressed them and suppressed them and That nation is going to be judged in such a way that the Lord will have a feast, a summer feast in Isaiah 18 verse 6. The fowls of the earth, they will come, they will have a feast, and they will summer on the beast. The beast, the nations that will be destroyed in Isaiah chapter 18 will be like a beast that is food, meat for the fowls of the earth. That judgment will come. It will not tally. Isaiah 18, judgment will come, and judgments will come on Ethiopia, of course, Isaiah 18, and of course, Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 5. Judgment is coming on America, of course, Revelation chapter 18, of course, Ezekiel chapter 18, America being a land beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. So America cannot escape judgment, and Ethiopia cannot escape judgment. And so that is my conclusion on the analysis of Isaiah chapter 18 and the judgment that is coming on the nation that is shadowing with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Thank you very much. And I hope that come back Jesus, um, the person who goes by that tag name. I want to see your comments about this discussion. Thank you. My email is raptureafrica@yahoo.com. You can send me notes privately if you want to do that. My email is raptureafrica@yahoo.com. One word, small letters. Thank you.